Raise your right hand and be sworn. Solemnly swear that the testimony you have offered is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And then you can make your way all the way over here to the witness stand. Have a seat, make yourself comfortable. And when you're ready, Mr. Hunter, you may fire the witness.
Good afternoon. Would you please say your full name and spell your last name for the record?
Sarah Elizabeth Dinus Forsgren, Forsgren.
And just because I've been admonished myself to make sure I speak up, I'll just ask to make sure that you speak up. I want to make sure that the jury and everybody can hear what we're discussing here. You okay if I call you Sarah? Now, Sarah, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living?
I'm a mental health counselor.
How long have you been in that field?
Almost a year.
And what led you to that field?
I've been a stay-at-home mom for almost 20 years, and I go back to further my education. I had an elementary education degree. Originally, I was going to be a school counselor. That didn't work, so mental health counselor, I guess.
Do you live in the area?
I live in Coeur d'Alene.
How long have you lived in Coeur d'Alene?
11 years.
And where'd you live before?
Minnesota.
Relevant.
And what brought you?
My husband's job.
And I want to direct your attention back to February of 2025, and specifically February 22nd. Do you remember that date?
Yes.
And do you recall attending a town hall event at Coeur d'Alene High School auditorium that day around 12:30?
Yes.
And when did you first hear about that town hall event?
I recall seeing it on Facebook the day before.
Did you see a flyer on Facebook?
Yeah, and write-up of a town hall event at Coeur d'Alene High School.
Treat states that one, just make sure this. Yeah, Rich.
You may.
Sarah, showing State's Exhibit 1, do you recognize that item?
Yes.
Is that the same flyer that you saw advertising the town hall event?
Yes.
Thank you. So based on the advertisements that you saw, what did you understand the nature of this event?
That the legislators representing the citizens of this area would be speaking and answering questions. That's what I assumed.
And what did you hope to get out of attending to that?
I just wanted to hear what they were going to say. I didn't have any plans to speak or do anything, just listen.
And what time did you get to the event on the day itself?
I don't remember exactly. It was maybe 15 minutes before it started.
Did you go with anyone else?
I went with one friend.
And where did you sit in the auditorium?
We sat towards the back.
And describe just general impressions of how the event was proceeding in terms of the atmosphere prior to the disruption that occurred.
When we walked in, we were a little concerned. We saw a few gentlemen with guns out on their waistbands. We went up and sat towards the back, like I said. I did see a few friends that I recognized. I spoke with one friend who was sitting in front front of me to the left briefly and greeted a few other people that were sitting around, and then we sat down. Once it started, they announced that there was security present. I remember mentioning to my friend, wondering who the security was. And we pointed at the men wearing black jackets, wondered if that was who security was. I don't recall them pointing them out or stating exactly who the men that were security, exactly who they were. As
Sorry to interrupt, just on that point, if I can ask you a question, those men that assumed might be security wearing black jackets, did you see them wearing any uniforms with the word security on it?
No, that's why we were confused.
And I apologize, I interrupted you, but as the, after this comment about the security and wondering who exactly they're talking about, how did you impress that?
There were numerous people voicing their dissent, and there was many more people yelling at the people voicing their dissent. My friend who was sitting in front of me to the left was one who voiced her dissent. The people sitting directly to my left started yelling at her, swearing at her, telling her to leave. She did turn around and interact with them. We also heard the MC saying horrible things to Teresa, calling her a little girl and disrespecting her. My focus was mostly on my friend and the people next to me who were yelling at her, and I said to my friend that
Sustained, and this is getting a bit narrative.
And so, fast forward a bit to, you recall there being an incident or significant disruption, which Teresa, you mentioned, had been removed.
No, I wasn't focused on Teresa, I was focused on my friend who was in front of me getting yelled at, and I said to my friend that it didn't feel safe.
Sustained.
This is her comment, herself, she's here subject to cross-examination.
It's not a important statement. You may be the truth of the matter asserted. It's hearsay, it's sustained.
At some point, did you decide to leave?
Yes, we didn't feel safe, we decided to leave. After my friend left, we got out to the ramp. When I turned around, I saw Teresa being dragged out. I got my phone out to record and followed them out. Her shirt was completely lifted up, she was totally exposed.
So I'll pause there for just a moment. And so voluntarily left this meeting, just decided of your own accord to do so, is that correct?
Yes,
You weren't directed out by anybody.
no,
And when you got into, let me actually ask you this first, just to clarify. Did you know who Teresa was prior to this meeting that took place?
I had never met her, I knew of her.
Oh. Would you go so far as to say that you were friends or even acquaintances?
No, I've never spoken to her before.
And so, once you were in the entranceway, did you see the men dragging her out of the meeting?
Yes, and I, with my phone recorded, followed them out. Once they were out in the hall, I could see Teresa looked terrified. So I put my phone away, and I was gonna be, try to be a safe person for her to go to, because it looked like she didn't know who to trust. So I tried to step aside so I could wait. I thought they would be done touching her.
Let me ask you, to jump in and ask a couple of questions here. Did you try at any point during the sequence of events that took place out in the hallway outside of the auditorium, did you try to interfere with what the unidentified men do?
No,
Did you touch any of them at any point?
no,
Do you recall if you said anything while they were bringing her out?
I did not.
Did you say anything at any point once she was already out into the hallway?
Yes, when they started touching her again, I said, oh my God, stop touching her, get your hands off her.
And what happened at that point?
Paul Trouette came over and got me up against the wall.
Before we go through what happened from there, did you know who Paul Trouette was at that time?
No,
But you personally, you now understand who Paul Trouette, you've seen him present here before.
yes,
And did you identify where you see it and I don't call it police work?
over there. Black jacket.
Any motion that needs to be at the table? And the record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant.
It was a,
And you're saying that the defendant came up to you, grabbed you, pushed you against the wall, is that correct?
Yes.
And what happened from there?
I was confused. I didn't know who he was. He was telling me to move. I believe I did move back. When I turned my body away from him, he grabbed my left breast and then my right. I was trying to fight and get away from him. Eventually, he was yelling at me to leave. He grabbed the zip ties and grabbed my left wrist and was telling me I was going to get zip tied. I kept asking him who he was. He never said his name, who he was, or what I did.
Did he give you any reason why he was doing what he was doing?
No,
Did he give you any reason why he was telling you that she needed to leave?
no,
You said that he continued, was he able to get these zip ties onto your wrist?
no, Teresa was on the ground right next to me, and she said something, and he redirected his attention to her and let me go.
So far as you recall, in the moments prior to the defendant beginning to grab at you, push you against the wall, and plead for temptation, these zip ties, did you hear the sheriff command you to do any of those things?
The sheriff wasn't out there at that time.
Hear anybody tell the defendant to do those things?
No.
This time, Your Honor, I'd like to just publish a portion of the State's Exhibit 21, which is East Hall, and then subject to that 22, which captured a portion of the events of the
any objection?
The first, no, the second. No objection.
All right, 21 and 22 shall be published, and I'm imagining, Mr. Hunter, you're going to fast forward
Yes.
to the parts that are relevant here.
Absolutely.
Any objection to that, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair?
called, for purposes of state, this portion of state 21, that portion was just shown back here to reflect your memory of what took place.
Yes.
So you want to work with it? And just to clarify, that blue right there in the top towards the left center portion with the dark jacket shirt.
Yes.
And is that the defendant standing from this vantage point here, left?
Yes.
Same question, that clip from Stacey's at 22 accurately reflect the recollection of what took place as vantage. Any of the contact that the defendant engaged in, as depicted in States 21 and 22, is that consented to?
No.
Wanting to make contact with you like that?
No.
What did you think of that contact when he was made?
I was shocked and scared.
Was it offensive to you?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have.
Once again, we should
Just briefly. For Sarah, of course.
Sarah Stein.
Afternoon, Sarah. You had mentioned that when everything was going on with Teresa Mournful, you weren't really paying attention to all of that, correct?
I was watching my friend in front of me.
So you're unaware of commands or actions taken by the sheriff at that point in time?
I noticed men approach her, but I wasn't watching what was being said or done.
You were aware that the sheriff was present that day, is that correct?
I believe he led something at the beginning.
And to your knowledge, you never witnessed the sheriff give any commands to anybody, correct?
Not that I'm aware of. I saw him interacting with the men in black, but I don't know his jackets, but I don't know what he was saying.
And so you weren't aware that if the sheriff had commanded to clear him the hallway, is that correct?
No idea.
You have no idea why Paul told you to move?
All he said was move.
Is there a reason why you did?
I did move. I did step back.
I haven't heard.
You're up.
Very brief. Close this to recall it, and from what you saw on those videos, it defended at any time to anyone else out of the hallway in that page.
Not that I saw.
Afterwards, let me ask it this way, before or after, did the defendant make efforts to, aside from pushing, to otherwise get anyone else out of the hallway?
He was trying to zip tie Teresa.
No further questions.
I have no further.
May the witness be excused?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You may be excused. Oh, before you leave, hand me that exhibit. Statement calls next witness.
Okay, good. At this time, it has concluded the representation of Texas Chief Haley, and then we'll have another witness, which should be here about 15 minutes, scheduling issues, so we will recall Chief Dan.
All right. Chief Haley, you've been sworn in early this morning, so I'm not going to swear you in again. One swearing in per day. Just remind you, though, you are still under oath. Please make yourself comfortable here, and when you're ready, Mr. Hunter, you may inquire. Chief Haley.
All right, back again.
Afternoon.
Okay, so we'll take up a few things, types. Example, if you will. You mentioned during yesterday's testimony that you obtained some search warrants during your investigation into this case. We've already discussed the warrant was obtained for Mary Lockwood. Video files, you've seen several of those. Did you obtain any other warrants that were relevant to this investigation?
Yes, I did.
Did you explain what those were for?
So one of them was for Mr. Trouette's email, that was a Yahoo account, and then one for Jamie Haas's email, and that was a Google account.
And let's start with, this may end up backing up a little bit further, but let's start with how you came to know of the email addresses that were involved. Do you recall how that came about?
That came about from the operations plan that was located. Jamie Haas was listed as the contact for KCRTC, and Paul Trouette as the CEO and supervisor for Lear Asset Management. That's the operations plan that Officer Renault had received from Kelly Human.
And is that the same plan, that same document that SRO Renault provided to you during the investigation?
Yes, that is correct.
And what did you do with that document after receiving it from SRO Renault?
So I scanned it, uploaded to that Viper storage that we talked about yesterday, and so it's secure storage, and then made a copy of it so that I could keep it readily on hand, and then book that into evidence, the original.
If I may first.
You may.
Chief, I'm handing you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 10. Do you recognize that item?
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
It is the Legislative Town Hall Security Advance and Operations Plan.
And does that appear to be a true and accurate copy of, or does that appear to be the same document that it was provided to you by SRO Renault during the course of this investigation?
It is.
And is it a true and accurate representation of that document?
It is.
At this time, Your Honor, they would move to admit State's Exhibit 10 into evidence.
Any objection to that?
Okay.
10 shall be admitted.
And I want to walk through a couple of things. So on that first page there, what does it list on that first page?
Talks about the advanced directive, so like I said, it's called security advance on the very front page. The second page talks about the directives of it. So the goal.
Well, actually, on that first page, again, does it identify the event?
Yes, so it says the Legislative Town Hall, and then it has Coeur d'Alene High School Auditorium, February 22nd, 2025, 12:30 to 2:30, and then it has Paul, the CEO, and then his phone number.
And so based upon that, during the course of your investigation, did you understand this to be the security advance plan for Mr. Trouette and for his business, their asset management for this event?
I did.
Do you recognize this title on the document of security advance based on your training and experience?
I do.
And just kind of link those together into what this is, in your understanding, your training and experience meant to be.
Certainly, it provides an overall operations plan for anybody.
Lack of foundation of personal knowledge is certainly the officer has training and experience, but what those words meant on that document that he was not party to.
I'm going to overrule the objection on the foundation grounds. Certainly this witness has testified to that expertise, and so would feel rule on those specific grounds.
So the security advance, commonly it will lay out where the location is, who the people are you're protecting, the contacts for the place that you're going to be at or the group that you are working with. It'll lay out kind of directives. Talks about the nearest hospitals, the local law enforcement agencies, those things are talked about here. And then who's going to be assigned, what roles they're going to play. That's a very normal piece of it, which is also in here. What kind of determinative concept of operations here, and basically what is the plan for that day. We would do these for big carrier protection events, such as the Vice President would be coming into Colorado, and we would create a very similar document for those events, just so everybody was on the same page. We knew who we were talking to, the Secret Service, every place that they were going, so that way everybody that was involved would have this exact document, so that way they could be in contact with anybody. It would have radio frequencies. It would have maps of the locations that we were going to as well. So very, very similar to what was put together here.
And under, you see where there's a subheading, I think it's on page 4 of the document, of the roles and responsibilities. It identifies, I guess, as the name implies, roles and responsibilities of these individuals that are part of this security team during the event.
Yes.
And in the second bullet point, you could, we don't know what that says.
Certainly, it states, note any weapons, threatening, and then in all caps, suspicious behavior. So it's just suspicious in all caps. Loud or rude disruptive events and persons who are responsible. Note disruptive individuals.
At least as far as what's identified as roles and responsibilities in that bullet point, it just says to note individuals, not to remove them.
That is correct, just to note.
On that same page, higher up, very top, I think you mentioned briefly that it identifies the team members. Who is identified as the individuals who are assigned as part of their asset management for this event?
Certainly, the top is listed Mr. Paul Trouette, the defendant, as the supervisor, Jesse Jones as one of the guards, Chris Berg, who's Christopher Berg, also listed as a supervisor, Alex Trouette as a guard, and Russ Dunn as a guard.
During the course of your investigation, were you able to identify those individuals as the same ones that were present for their asset management during this event?
Yes, I did, utilizing DMV photos and the like.
Turning now to page 5, it seems to be a continuation of that roles and responsibilities. And again, that second bullet point, what does it say with regard to disruptive individuals?
Warn those who are disruptive in the meeting to cease, or they will be removed. And then this, I believe, is a typo. Should be at, but it states or the direction of the chair. So if, or they will be removed at the direction of the chair, as I believe what it should say.
And just to be clear for the record, that's the understanding that you have, but what it literally says is to be removed for the direction of the chair.
That is correct.
And who did it identify as the chair on page 3? It's under client.
So it says client, KCRCC, and then it has Jamie Haas and her title as chair.
Is that where, going back and closing the loop in terms of the warrants that you obtained, is that where you got the email address for Ms. Haas for purposes of the warrant?
That is correct.
Is that where you also got the email address for Mr. Trouette for purposes of that one?
Yes, and that was the business one, Lear Asset Management.
And were those warrants approved?
Yes, they were approved by a judge.
And were they executed?
Yes, they were.
Now, starting with, let's start with the one for Mr. Trouette's email, or Lear email address. What was the company or the entity that hosted that email?
So it's through yahoo.com, but they utilize a company called Codex as a place that we submit the warrants to get the information from them.
And what was, I guess, the goal of getting this warrant with regarding your
There's relevance. These documents have been stipulated, both the documents that council has submitted, as well as the information from the emails.
Mr. Ryan, any response?
I think that you're maybe wondering, I think it's important just to quickly identify, and I won't belabor the point, most certainly, what you're seeking with regard to the investigation. I think it's going to tell why it's relevant that you got the emails and then what you found, which will lead into the exhibits to be provided.
Understood. There's been some discussion about time,
Understood.
and this exhibit, as I understand, has been stipulated to, will be admitted.
Very good.
So with that, I will overrule the objection.
Thank you, Judge. So, Katia, very briefly, what were you seeking by getting this warrant and executing it for Lear Asset Management email address with them?
To determine if there was an executed contract between Lear Asset Management and KCRCC.
And did you receive a return from that warrant request?
Yes, it did.
And did that include a certificate of authenticity?
It does, amongst the many documents they returned.
And did it include the emails that you had requested?
Yes, it did.
Did you search through those email files to see if there was an executed contract for this matter?
Yes, I searched through them.
And what, if anything, did you find?
There was no fully executed contract. There was a proposed contract, but no executed contract.
Retrieve exhibits 6, 7, 8, 5, 6. And if I may approach your honor, just hand all these documents to Chief Haley at once, handing you, Chief Haley, a series of documents admitted to State's Exhibits 5 through 9. So, beginning, let's jump first to State's Exhibit 6. Is that the certificate of authenticity you received from Yahoo that you testified about?
Yes, it is.
And State's Exhibit 8, can you please identify what that is?
State's Exhibit 8 is the security service contract for Lear Asset Management and the KCRCC.
And to direct your attention for the exact place, I think it's on page 3 of that contract, if I could direct you to that.
Okay.
And towards the top, I think it's actually in one of the top lines on the right-hand side. What is it? What term does it have there as far as seeming to identify what the purpose of the contract is?
It says for executive protection services, so it has a hash mark or a pound sign, executive, and then one line down, says hash mark, protection services.
Looking down under comments section, it's below the schedule hours, things of that nature. It's comments, what does it say there in terms of comments?
It says protection advance for legislative town hall.
And again, towards the bottom of the document, sentence or the portion identified as the first line or first paragraph.
Number 1 here.
Yes.
It states the agency agrees pursuant to the request of the customer to furnish executive protection services needed by the customer at the site or sites location indicated on page 4 of this contract.
And a few other portions just to highlight from this. On page 6, you see the heading scope of work.
Yes.
And you identified specifically what it states for the 3rd and the 4th bullet points.
Okay. States address negative behavior, violence, and/or nuisances with de-escalation measures and the escort of nuisance individuals if necessary.
And that's the next bullet point.
Assist in de-escalation resulting from this behavior by accompanying and instructing those behaving in an inappropriate manner to leave the meeting.
And under 21, it's Lear asset will. You identify what those are.
Yep. Number 1, identify inappropriate behavior. Number 2, mitigate inappropriate behavior by applying de-escalation techniques. Number 3, deter and prevent violence. Number 4, deny violent or inappropriate behavior. Number 5, interface and notify Coeur d'Alene Police Department upon necessity of event.
Chief Haley, you found this document, say you reviewed it as part of your investigation.
Yes.
And when you reviewed it, did you note these same points that stood out to you in this unsigned contract?
Yes, those are some of the points that stood out.
And why did those stand out to you?
Because it specifically states what their role there was, or what their proposed role, if they had a signed contract, was for this event.
And it seems to highlight, I guess, what would purportedly be the focus on de-escalation and trying to minimize conflict. Would that be a fair assessment based on your reading?
Yes, de-escalation is mentioned multiple times.
It also identify interfacing with law enforcement when necessary.
Yeah, specifically the Coeur d'Alene Police Department.
During the course of your investigation, did you find at any point that any member of Lear Asset Management reached out to the Coeur d'Alene Police Department?
No, right, except for the calls with Detective SRO Brunel.
And I guess maybe most importantly, but importantly, was this contract signed?
No, it was not. It was a proposed contract with no signed contract.
In your search of the Lear Asset Management email returns received from the warrant request, did you find anywhere in there that a signed contract was returned from any member of the KCRCC?
No, there was never a signed contract.
Now, you also mentioned a warrant that was obtained for Jane Haas's email, and what entity was that directed to?
That was directed to Google via their online portal.
And did you receive a response to that?
Yes, I did.
And did that also contain a certificate of authenticity from Google?
Yes, I did.
And looking at State's Exhibit 7, does that appear to be the same certificate of authenticity you received from Google for Jamie Haas's email return?
Yes.
And now, looking to State's Exhibit 5, if you identified that as one of the emails that
Ladies over 50.
provided in response to that email return.
This one came from, it was sent from Mr. Trouette. So it both contained Lear Asset Management and then Jamie Haas's emails. It is sent to Luke Summer, Nina Beasley, and Jamie Haas. It was sent on the 21st at 2014, so it'd be 8:14 p.m. Had an attachment of KCRCC Legislators Town Hall. And then the statement, the actual body of the email states, here's a contract for your review, and then has Paul Trouette and then his information.
In the attachment in your investigation, did you confirm that that was the same unsigned contract contained in State's Exhibit 8?
It is.
In your review of the return that you received for Jamie Haas's email pursuant to the warrant that you obtained, did you identify any place in which she sent to Mr. Trouette, to your asset management, or any of those individuals, a signed version of the contract?
There was never a signed version of the contract.
Shifting gears a little bit, in terms of the investigation that you did you make a request to Lear that was pursuant to a provision of the Coeur d'Alene City Code, I believe that's State's Exhibit 9 that you have there?
Yes, I did.
And specifically, what provision of the code, or what was the nature of that request?
It was a request for employment records.
Maybe if you could explain to the jury how you made that request to Mr. Trouette.
So I responded along with another detective up to his residence in Hayden and spoke with a female there, explained where the reason that I was wanting to be in contact with Mr. Trouette was to inspect the employment records as required by Coeur d'Alene City Code, and left my card with her to asking Mr. Trouette to contact.
Now, you said Hayden, you were employed by the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So how did you have authority to go and interview someone outside the city limits?
So at that time, I was authorized as a special deputy for Kootenai County, so that authorized me to conduct law enforcement activities outside of the city of Coeur d'Alene, so inside of all.
And now, were you able to interact with the defendant at that time during that attempt to go directly to him?
He was not there. I later spoke with him on the telephone.
And explain to the jury what happened during that conversation.
I explained to Mr. Trouette what I was calling about, what I was requesting. He stated that he was out of town, but did have the records with him. And then I asked him to get them to me by close of business. It was a few days later that I gave him.
Did he indicate that he would do that, get those records that he claimed he had with him at the time to you?
Yes.
And did he, in fact, ever provide those records to you consistent with the authority provided under Police Code 5.32.08?
He had asked that I send him an email about it, so I sent an email and I received a reply back from an attorney stating that the only employee for Lear Asset Management at that time was Paul Trouette, and then provided some of the required info. They did not provide his current address.
Just to clarify, my previous comment as far as city code, that was 5.32.080. Apologies for that. But go back to what she stated. Safe to say that you never actually received the employment records.
So I'm going to object. This seems to be getting into, witness just testified to receive a response from an attorney. I don't think it's appropriate to go further than that as to the records that were received unless there's some additional relevance to this case.
Well, let me hear what the question is first.
Sorry, back in the call, I would ask for the correct contents, just whether you ever received the records you purported to have and indicated he would send to you either through himself or through the attorney that you received a response on.
No, just providing me with his name and stating that he is the only employee, is not providing the true employment records.
So the objection will be overruled with that clarification.
Few questions for you. Insofar as you recall, going back to the return, the email returns from Jamie Haas's emails, recall seeing Mr. Trouette's name included in those, aside from the email that states Exhibit 5, in which he emailed that copy of unsigned contract.
Yes, I do recall his name being in some emails.
Was that ever mentioned prior to the date of this event as someone who would be providing security for this event?
No, it was not.
Pursuant to your training and experience, both with the Coeur d'Alene Police Department and now in your position as Chief of the Raptor Police Department, is it important for you to understand duties of the sheriff and scope of his authority, where he could or could not act, where he normally would not act?
Yes.
And in your experience, having watched through several videos of what took place on February 22nd, 2025, and the actions that the sheriff took, your experience is all common for the sheriff's office, whether that be the sheriff or any deputy, to enforce any state criminal laws within the city of Coeur d'Alene, independent of their own.
So they will make traffic stops, things resulting from that. Some drug investigations will occur within the city. Those are often in coordination with a drug unit within Coeur d'Alene. So there is those instances, yes.
But as far as with not in coordination with, or based upon some prior agreement or memorandum or something of that nature, outside of those contexts, is it common for sheriff's deputies to engage in standard criminal enforcement within Coeur d'Alene city limits?
Not normally would they respond to a call for service unless then we requested them.
What about for the sheriff himself to engage in enforcement actions within Coeur d'Alene city limits?
I don't have any prior knowledge of him taking ones. Obviously, I don't know what he does exactly day to day, but there's been nothing to my knowledge.
Those are the questions I have. Thank you.
Mr. Hart, this is a good time for us to take our afternoon break. We'll have a 15-minute break here. Just to remind you, please do not discuss this case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Please do not form a decision on the merits of the matter until it's been fully submitted to you for your determination. See you in 15 minutes, so break off.
All rise.
And we can go off. Hang on.
I'm ready to get out of the house.